Admiral Arun Prakash, Admiral Anup Singh, Admiral Das, distinguished guests and friends in this lovely auditorium. Taking a cue from the NMF, being the second speaker after a sumptuous meal, may I request all of you to put your snoring on silence, unless of course there is a medical emergency. Good afternoon to all of you. Before I begin, I state that all the views expressed in this forum are my own individual opinions and do not represent Indian Navy's views. All data presented is from open sources. I am going to cover the presentation under the following heads. Our vision for the maritime preparedness is fashioned by many factors, some of which are fairly consistent and others dynamic. I will therefore paint a very broad picture of these factors from which will flow our maritime security imperatives that shape our vision for the future. Today, the nation faces a challenging marine operating environment due to a variety of factors which include geopolitics, emerging technologies and continuously evolving capabilities in our maritime neighborhood. Notwithstanding scenario building exercises and other instruments of prediction, it is difficult to foretell with any degree of certainty the challenges that future may have in store. The Navy is the only armed service which operates beyond the borders. In the era of globalization and realignment, it is turning into an instrument of maritime diplomacy. Thus, the Collegium of Marine Forces, that is Indian Navy, Coast Guard and Marine Police, forms a vital component in our quest for ocean space dominance. With this, our formally stated maritime vision should be to create and sustain a state of maritime preparedness characterized by three-dimensional technology, safeguarding our maritime interest on high seas and projecting combat power across the littoral. The coastal security forms the backbone of the maritime preparedness. A recent gap analysis reveals the following areas of concern. To bridge the gaps in coastal security, a three-level coastal security scheme has been created by the government to safeguard the Indian coast, delineating the geographical ambit of responsibility. It states that Marine Police would be responsible for patrolling up to 12 nautical miles, Indian Coast Guard up to from 12 to 200 nautical miles, mainly the EEZ, and Indian Navy to patrol beyond 200 nautical miles. In addition, a dedicated specialized force called Sagar Prahari Bal for force protection functions at naval harbors have been raised, which will be operating under respective naval commands. India's maritime power and its evolving maritime profile and strategy are predicated on three significant trends. These are the process of globalization in new economic technological order, the accrual of strategic technological strengths, and finally the vision of enhanced military prowess in Asia-Pacific region. The first two trends are manifestations of a strong technological and industrial base. However, insofar as military power is concerned, the country remains dependent to a very large extent on imports for combat equipment of the armed forces. This factor not only drains our foreign exchange reserves, but we also become vulnerable to threat of technology demand and control regimes for the upgradation and lifetime support. To me, therefore, it is imperative that we have a strong technological, self-reliant and sustainable industry to cater and safeguard a superior maritime status. The maritime strategy of India highlights the need for domain awareness, which is critical to prevent adverse events. Knowledge of an adversary's capabilities, intentions, objective, ideology and organizational structure is used to assess adversary's strength, vulnerabilities and centers of gravity. Domain awareness also enables the early identification of potential threats, planning of responses, supporting decision making and prioritizing resource allocation. At the tactical level, domain awareness encompasses all activities within the area of battle space centered on a force, be they air, surface or subsurface. The existing connectivity enables a near real-time marine domain awareness plot to be maintained at all maritime operations centers, enabling exchange of positional awareness and networking sensor information of own assets. In the short term, nation intends to achieve a satellite-based comprehensive communications capability in the Indian Ocean region. In the long term, an all-encompassing surveillance and communications capability will be achieved through a constellation of satellites enabling a complete integration networking of units of Indian maritime domain, be it shore-based or spread in sea. The maritime domain awareness thus forms a backbone for achieving a high degree of maritime preparedness of the nation, which in turn has led to several modernization plans in various maritime domains as displayed on the screen. These modernization plans are already resulting in large procurements. A major share of it would be through defense procurement channel. The Defense Procurement Procedure 2002 came into effect from 30th December 2002 and has since been reviewed and revised to DPP 2008 on the basis of experience gained in its implementation. The procurement process comprises of planning and acquisition. All procurement proposals are examined by Services Capital Acquisition Procurement Categorization Committee as regards the route to be adopted: buy and make, and make. While buy implies outright purchase of complete requirement, buy and make implies purchase of part requirement from a foreign vendor, and production of balanced quantity under license, and make denotes complete indigenous manufacture. MOD has specified 7 different procedures that can be followed to acquire new equipment as displayed on the screen. Some important aspects are: the buy category has been split to promote Indian industry through Buy Indian route. Project based on low technology, mature systems would be treated as normal Buy Indian. MOD has introduced a new category, Buy and Make Indian, in 2009. Offset policy enumerated in DPP is applicable to all buy and make with TOT and shipbuilding cases where indicative cost is over 300 crores. These aspects should act as a driver to create market entry opportunities for mid-rank Indian companies which are looking at investing in research and development and manufacturing of defense goods. The Defense Minister, Shri A.K. Antony, recently unveiled the first ever defense production policy. The DPRP 2011 goes further ahead in facilitating participation of private industries in defense production. It will act as a catalyst to enhance potential of small and medium enterprises for indigenization. Some of the important aspects are displayed on screen. The Defense Procurement Policy DPP 2011, which is going to be issued in near future, has been expanded to include civil aerospace, internal security and training within the ambit of eligible products and services for discharge of offset obligations, which can prove to be a stepping stone towards vibrant future for private industry. In the defense sector, the list of eligible offsets are projected on the screen. The new policy is expected to give boost to investment by original equipment manufacturers. The DPP 2011 will allow foreign vendors to invest in related sectors such as civilian aerospace and industry and internal security, weapons and equipment. Friends, a couple of months back, the armed forces increased the ration of eggs for Jawans from 1 egg daily to 2 eggs per day. Overnight, the hatchery owners developed permanent smiles, as it meant an extra demand of over 11 lakh eggs per day. It also meant 11 lakh new chickens to lay the eggs, more cocks, more feed and so on. Unfortunately, in the immediate future, neither the adequate number of eggs suppliers nor the egg producing hen were available. Everyone concerned were blaming the chicken's failure to provide solution to this problem. The poor chicken could neither produce hatching hens overnight nor bioengineer themselves to deliver 2 eggs per day. मुर्गी बदनाम हुई फौजी तेरे लिए. Something similar is going to happen to the stakeholders in the armament world. For example, BDL today has an order book of 30,000 crores, which is going to grow to 160,000 crores in next 3 to 4 years. Ammunition factories and small arms factories order books are completely full with MHA orders, and there is a lot of pressure on ordnance factory to reduce supply to the defense forces and give to the paramilitary forces. This emphasizes the imperative need for us to synergize and get our act in place well in time. With the further of modernization setting up in all maritime domains, the opportunities in Indian industries to be part of it and flourish along are phenomenal. I will be outlining a few among them in subsequent screens. Marine Police, in spite of being a new and considerably smaller member of the coastal security scheme, would be providing a large arena of product requirements as listed on the screen for private industries and small and medium enterprises to venture and prosper. The Coast Guard fleet now comprises of about 44 ships, 19 interceptor boats, 6 hovercraft, 24 fixed-wing aircraft and 21 helicopters. The Cabinet Committee on Security has given additional sanctions for 40 ships, 20 boats, 42 additional aircraft, 32,000 personnel. The DG Coast Guard, Vice Admiral Anil Chopra has said the force levels and manpower in the force will double in next few years and triple in the next decade. Further, he mentioned about a coastal surveillance network, a project of about 350 crores being established to enhance the surveillance capability and effective maritime domain awareness. The Indian Navy is in the process of major modernization through acquiring latest state-of-the-art platforms. Though most of these platforms are imported, orders have been placed on the Indian shipyards for indigenous manufacture of about 40 ships, which include stealth frigates, destroyers and ASW ships, Scorpene class submarines being manufactured in India through TOT from France. Naval aviation is undergoing a huge revamp with MiG-29K aircraft providing the requisite air power and US state-of-the-art P-81 with multi-mission long-range maritime surveillance capabilities. To support this platform, procurement of huge inventory of armament is being undertaken. The armament kit required for these platforms are being acquired through route of import, TOT or through consortium or joint ventures. The existing minesweepers are being upgraded into mine hunters through Messrs. Thales France. Navy is also building up its surveillance endurance through NCW capability to achieve real-time maritime domain awareness in the entire Indian Ocean region. The future combat management system developed by VESI with assistance from Center for Development of Telematics is being manufactured by BEL. The Navy's long-term commitment supporting Indianization has been often reiterated as it believes that Indianization is fundamental to its growth plans. This not only reduces foreign dependence while minimizing costs, but also assists its capability to build up local industry. Various quality standards which are required for the armament are put on the screen. Foreign firms are now looking at India as an attractive destination to forge alliances for more cost-effective production of defense items. Sadly, the state-of-the-art technology which gives cutting edge is not available in India, and import is the only option left for the services. A very significant portion of defense budget is spent on imports. Even a 10 to 20% reduction in our imports will not only help us in saving precious foreign exchange, but also have a spiraling effect on the economy. This will increase growth rate in manufacturing sector and create job opportunities not only for large industries but also small scale ancillary industries. The drive for Indianization has at times been hindered by concerns of the industry, namely projected on the screen. Naval armaments are designed to function reliably in the face of the enemy. Needless to say, it is an existentialist issue. If it functions as designed, we live to fight another day. If it doesn't, the enemy has Murg Musallam or Shazwa octopus for that matter for dinner. The marine operating environment is hostile at best of times, constantly corroding, taking its toll. The logistic supply chains are not at all like that on land for the army. The exit speeds are that of a tortoise compared to the air force. One has to incessantly fight the elements and enemy for sheer survival. So armaments have to function as designed. The Government of India has shown keenness in allowing international collaboration for the production of certain weapon systems, which include those projected on the screen. The armament production is in a state of art technology. The involvement of the industry in development and production of the armament could be basically in the ways depicted on the screen. These approaches have been articulated to elevate the role of the manufacturer to that of a designer and a producer. In the recently held international seminar on naval armament, various dignitaries have spoken about the industry requirements as depicted on the screen. A CII study report, Building India's Navy Force Requirements and Indigenous Capabilities by CII, was released during the event. The key findings of the same are displayed on the screen. A three-pronged initiative has been taken towards realizing self-reliance in the field of armament. These are again depicted on the screen. We believe that if we mean business and are serious about having a significant role to be played by the private industry on the domestic armament production scheme, the issues and concerns of the industry would need to be addressed to its very core. Strategic partnerships and fostering long-term relations between all concerned in armament production would also set the pace for the industry to explore and develop new technological systems. In conclusion, there are tremendous opportunities for the industries, but there is a need for lifetime product support, need for excellent quality, need to shift from buyer-seller to partnership between industry and marine services. I have finished. Thank you, gentlemen, and I could hear none of this noise, so you are a wonderful audience. Thank you once again.